What's up, what's up, what's up? It's Curry Spice back with another video, and not feeling so good today, if you may have noticed. I was feeling depressed, but I came home, I had a couple glasses, maybe 3 small glasses of wine, kind of help calm my nerves, and I will explain everything in due time. In the meanwhile, I just want to kind of really just kind of unwind and kind of meditate a bit, and maybe sleep on today's happenings, or just reflect on the 11 months that I wasted. So I'll tell you more about that later. Tomorrow's just another day. I'm gonna take it one day at a time. Everything will be okay. So the reason why I was so upset is because I made a very difficult decision today, and I decided to quit my job. So I was a no-call, no-show, and it was one of the most hardest things I ever had to do, because I'm not someone who quits. I mean, I quit once, my first job ever, working at McDonald's, and I was 16. So, as an adult, before this happened, I never would even dream of quitting. So that's how you know that I really just had it. I was just at the end of my rope. I felt singled out. I felt like there was a cultural divide. There was a gender divide. There was a divide between the proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The administrative people had this kind of supervising role. It was very condescending towards me. They were acting like they were better than me. Like I felt it. And I think there's something there where it's like, they probably get paid enough. I don't know if they get paid enough, but I know they may have that confidence because that's what they exude. But I don't know. I just felt like with all the menial labor that I devoted, I was just, at the end of the day, I was just a housekeeper and a laundry assistant. I had 2 titles. And they don't really care if I'm dead or alive. The only thing they really cared about today was that I didn't show up for work. So they probably had to pick up my slack in some way. So that was the inconvenience of me not showing up for work. Not so much, is she okay? Did something happen? So I know in this world I can't always convince people that they should care about me. Because at the end of the day, many people, practically everyone, is not really going to have my best interest at heart because they're most likely going to be self-motivated. And I just seen in my last 11 months that I feel like I wasted because I decided to work in an assisted living first as a caregiver and then transferring over to another location because I got tired of the 3 to 4 hour commute just to get to work via public transportation because it was just eating up all my time. And switching to a closer location to home, which was only an hour and a half via public transportation, which was way better. However, I feel like I gave myself the short end of the stick by accepting a job that wasn't even in the same expertise as the degree that I earned at Cal State Long Beach, which is in English creative writing. So there was this big stigma. I was trying to avoid the stigma of being jobless, like jobless after college with a degree. I was trying to avoid it, and I really went out of my way to avoid it. Like 3 weeks before I graduated, I landed this job. And it was one of those high turnover jobs. So they were really easy to hire me as long as I passed the background check. But it's just, I was giving up a lot. Like, there's so many rules. Well, in the first 8 months, I was okay as far as keeping my nose jewelry in. But once I transferred to another location, the one that's closer to home, that's when they asked me to take out my nose jewelry. And that really just fucked with my psyche. Even though I get it's the ego, I understand that for sure. And I know image is everything when it comes to business, and not everyone wants to do business with someone who has nose jewelry. I understand that. However, I was a laundry girl, doing laundry in the back, and like, who's gonna see me? The only time I'm really engaging with residents is when I'm picking up their dirty clothes and then delivering the clean clothes to them. So my engagements with them usually are brief, unless they want to strike up some chit chat with me because some of the residents really liked me. And I really liked them too. Out of all the months that I'd been there, I was just faking it till I make it. I was just focusing on the residents and how much I love them and thinking, okay, if I just stay from my favorite residents, then working here won't be as bad. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough to keep me. And also getting a paycheck every 2 weeks wasn't enough either. Even though that was one of my big reasons for staying as long as I did, because I went almost a year. But it was difficult for me because I was seeking out, and I'm still seeking this personal growth journey. One is like towards entrepreneurship. And I like to call myself a transitioning entrepreneur because I'm not successful yet. That's when you're really an entrepreneur, is when you're successful. So I can't claim 100% entrepreneur yet. So, but I had to put myself in a mindset in order to get there, because whatever you think, you create. And I had to make sure my actions was simulating with whatever where my mind was at. And if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, you have to think like an entrepreneur and do things like an entrepreneur. So there was a big part of me that was trying to get out of the rat race. Like I was trying to be more meditative, and people already see me as a free spirit, but my ultimate goal is to be as close to 100% free spirit as possible. That's my goal. And the job was actually taking me out of that Deepak Chopra-like element that I was trying to tap into. It was keeping me in the rat race. So I was okay as long as I wasn't working there, like chasing the weekends. So as soon as Friday night gets here, because I have weekends off, Friday night gets here and I'm all excited and celebratory, and but I just got tired of living my life for the weekends. And I got tired of the favoritism that I would see around, and the clickiness. There was a lot of clickiness. When I say clickiness, I mean people who don't really know me that well and can take an interest in me and strike up a conversation, but instead they rather just stick with who they know and stick with who they, stick with people they've known for years, kind of thing. And they're like this and hugging each other, and the way they stare at each other is like, you can feel that bond between them. It's like you can't compete with that. And then I come in as a new girl, the new girl, even though I've been there for 3 months and I'm still the new girl. But it's just bombarded me. Like I've always felt like an outcast, and there were times where I was able to deal with it. But when I'm in a situation where I'm spending most of my time there, because it's a 40-hour-a-week job, you have to love your job. You have to love it, because if you don't love it, you'll be miserable. Because there are doctors out there who are suicidal, and they're making 6 figures. So you could only imagine what I could be feeling. I'm not even making anything near what a doctor's making. And he felt the same way that I feel about continuing employment at this job. That is very labor intensive, with the menial labor, and they want you to work every single second that you're clocked in. It's like they constantly micro-managing you, and they're waiting for slip-ups. So it's like it was too many eyes watching me. And I know someone could argue that it shouldn't really matter if eyes are watching me if I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. Yes, and you're right. That's true. However, I just want the same freedom that the administrative people have. And I know I can't get that because they're on a higher level, and I understand that too. But it was the double standard I would see that really bothered me. yeah, I was clicking this with the favoritism thing. And then the other thing that really bothered me was that, you guys know, I love food. I love food. And I can't always like go out and spend money on food because that's very expensive to do that on a daily basis. And sometimes I'm in between grocery shopping, so pickings can be slim. So I'm entitled, or I was entitled, one free meal for every shift that I worked. And it would be, and they would be very slow as far as when they would deliver the meal to me. They would, like, I would have to fill out a slip that indicated that I was interested in getting my lunch. And most of the time they will honor it. But if I put down a time of 11 a.m. or even 12 a.m. or something like that, so I could have it right when I start my lunch, it's like inconvenient for them, so they don't want to give me my lunch when I'm on my lunch break, but they want to give me my lunch when my lunch is over. And it's like, so then it becomes tricky territory because I'm not supposed to be going over my breaks, but they're putting me in a situation where I either have to eat it, like scarf all the food down on a 10-minute break that's right after my 30-minute break. And then somewhere in there, I have to make sure all the work is done because they don't want to pay me overtime. And it was just a lot of pressure. And then on top of that, they don't like to give me any healthy food. So if I ask for egg whites, they don't want to give it. If I ask for spinach, they don't want to give it. So it forced me to give up the veganism. Like, I was trying to go as vegan as possible, but they threw a wrench in that, and I was spending most of my time there. So it sabotaged my diet, because then that changed my habits, and now I'm back to eating poorly again. And when I first started the company, I lost nearly 45 pounds. I was on top of my health. But then now it's like I didn't gain the weight back. If I did gain any back, it wasn't all of it. Maybe 2 or 3 pounds, if anything, which is nothing. However, I'm not as toned as I was before, even though my arms are still kind of muscular. But that's like genetics. My arms are naturally like this, but I pretty much have to start from scratch. I have to get my body back to the way it was. And it makes me feel upset that I have to do that work all over again. When you're a woman of a certain age, your metabolism is already at stake, and then you let yourself go, in a sense, because you don't have enough time to devote to your exercise regimen anymore. I was constantly coming home depleted, and I didn't like that. And then let me get back to the food. Even though they didn't want to give me anything healthy, like no soy milk, nothing, no spinach, no kale, because they wanted to save it for their residents, because their residents are paying customers. The residents are customers, so they want to give out their expensive foods where it counts. But then it's demeaning me and making me feel like I'm not valued. It made me feel like I'm not worthy. The residents are valued because they have money and they're not like me, whereas I'm seen as more of a liability because they have to pay me a check, you know. So the setup was very exploitative. It was demeaning. It was just made me feel undervalued. And I was getting paid just a little over minimum wage, not that much more than minimum wage. And my daughter just came in. But I just didn't like the way I was feeling. I wasn't acting like myself. I was using a glass of wine as a crutch. Every time I come home, it's like the thing I look forward to. So it's kind of like on the edge of, I know it's like a controversy because my father was an alcoholic, so but yeah, I know that there was a double standard because the foods that they said I couldn't get, I saw other staff members there, ones who had proven themselves and were more valued than me. I noticed they were getting the food that I was asking for. They didn't even want to give me bacon. And bacon's not even healthy. And they didn't want to give me bacon. Because bacon's expensive and, you know. But then I see other staff members. There was one staff member who, I was actually newer. She's newer than me. So I've been working at that location just a little bit longer than her. She gets bacon, but I don't. So little things like that. And I was working so hard. Like, I was trying to keep up my exercise, and it was hard for me because I was so tired when I got home. I let my exercise regimen go. So the only real exercise I can get was on the job site. So I was moving these, the laundry bags, putting them over my back and walking up and down the stairs with them. And that was good for a workout, but then I was getting depleted between that and not eating as much as I'm used to. So I ended up going to the doctor because I was like feeling woozy, like I was about to faint on the job site. And I actually found out that it was a panic attack. Yeah, I had a panic attack, and but I worked through it. I forced myself to work through it, and it was like the worst feeling in the world because it felt like something else was wrong. Like, so I was surprised that an anxiety attack had me feeling like that. Like, wow, it was just so powerful. But I did have slightly low blood sugar because of the moving around on the job and not eating as much. So I tried to fix that, and it worked for the last month or so. It worked that I try not to overextend myself. But even then, the job just forces you to be active. Like with laundry, you're forced to be active. And with caregiving, you're forced to be active. So I didn't completely miss out on exercise, but I still let myself go because I'm just flappier than I want to be. And I didn't like who I was becoming. I wasn't happy anymore. The only time I was really happy was when I'm filming for YouTube or out with my friends or modeling or something along those lines. I was very self-conscious about my time freedom and where I spent my time. And that was the entrepreneur side of me. I really wanted time freedom. Now I have it. And it's something I had to do on my own. Like, I had to just go through this alone. So I maybe only talked to my husband and my sister about this. I only talked to maybe one or two people about this, like people I knew who would understand what I was going through. But most people would have told me to just stick it out. Just stick it out. Because they're valuing money over sanity. And I feel like, I understand that because we all have bills. But I feel like something's wrong with that. I understand why they would value money over sanity. But at the end of the day, sanity should win. It should be like the number one. Because if I had a panic attack that got me like hospitalized, not just going to the doctor to request blood work, because that's where I was at, but more like I'm fainting on the job and I'm forced to get hospitalized all because of some kind of panic attack or mental breakdown. No one's going to say, oh, well, that's a shame that she had a breakdown, but at least she didn't quit her job. You know what I mean? It doesn't even make sense to even say that. It's like, where are your priorities lined up? Your sanity should always come first. And I was watching a couple of videos from Infinite Waters and another one from Gary Vee, and they both said the same thing along the lines of, you decide your own fate. Like, you have control over your life. You don't have complete control, but you have control. So don't stay in a job that makes you miserable. If you feel that badly about it, just quit. Because life is too short. Infinite Waters, in one of his videos, he was comparing the rich to the poor and how their habits are different. He said, poor people will hate a job, but they'll stay in it because of the money. But then rich people, if they're in a job and they don't like it, they'll just leave. So I was thinking about that a lot. And I know I'm not rich. I'm not rich. I'm not in the position. I'm not in that position yet, but that shouldn't really matter. You have to just follow your heart. And I've been lying to myself for the last 11 months. And I was even like ashamed of going with this job because that was the byproduct of what I become after college. And I didn't want that to be my truth anymore. And what makes it worse is someone recommended me for the job. Someone from one location, the first location I went to, recommended me to the other location. So I made the guy look bad. I feel really bad about that. That was one of my reasons for not quitting the first time. Well, the first few times. Because I've been wanting to quit this job for a very long time. By month 5, that's when I really wanted out. To tell you the truth, I don't even know how I lasted this long. I tried different things. So I didn't just say, oh, well, it's not working, let me leave. I tried different positions in the company. I was going to transfer to one more. I was going to switch positions once more before I quit. I was interested in being an assistant activities director, and that would have been really good for me because I wouldn't have to be forced to wear the horrible khaki pants, and I get to dress like a normal person as long as it was like a real estate agent kind of dress, almost, But I would have been fine with that because that's more in line with the way I dress. Like, because I can be professional, but then I could be edgy too. So I just wanted to be able to put my own little twist on my wardrobe and just like put my individuality into the job, because my individuality is what the residents loved about me, and my sense of humor. And my sense of humor is one of the things that got me through the job. But even that has started to wear thin, where I couldn't do it anymore. Just felt like I was lying to myself. And I'm at a mixture of different feelings. I feel, and I'll make another video about it because this one's long, because I'll tell you exactly what happened, because it's been different things. But this video is not to desecrate anyone. It's just only to just talk about my experience and how something didn't work for me. But it might work better for someone else. But I do find that a lot of people are not happy with this line of work. Because they have the tendency to kind of take their frustrations out on other people and little things like that. So I experienced that on the job too. And like, people not wanting to talk to you because going back to the clickiness, talking behind your back and spreading rumors about you, even if there's a little truth in the rumors, so you have to be careful who you tell certain things. And then you have the administrative people who always act like they're your supervisors, like they're just, everybody's watching you. There's like cameras everywhere in a sense. And it was too much pressure. And they wanted me to work on my speed. And I wanted this job to be, or at least I thought this job was more like you have a whole 8 hours to do it. So just take your time. And once you're done, you get to relax, kind of thing. And it started as that. But then it became more like, we want you to work every second you're on the clock. And it was too much pressure for me. It made me feel like my life wasn't my own. It made me feel like I'm a tool and I'm undervalued. And if I were to die, they would not care. The only thing that would make them care is they would have to pick up my slack because they have to find someone else to fill my spot. That's the only way they care. And I didn't like the way that felt. It made me feel like a number, not like a human. And I had to come to the realization that any title that I had under that company, I was going to feel the same way. Even if I was going to be an assistant activities director, which I think would have been the best fit for me. But in its own way, it still would have been rat racy. So, but I'm wrapping it up. So I'm gonna do it to be continued because my daughter's trying to go to sleep. But I'll post another video sometime soon. But that's it. For now. Looking forward to spicing up your life one episode at a time. And It's just beginning. Trying to not beat myself up about it. It's just beginning. This is a new life, a new chapter. So, okay, take care.